I have a new problem.
Thank you, Dr. Qureshi, for your valuable speech. Let me share you the constitutional provisions for the Election Commission of Bangladesh. First of all, as Dr. Qureshi said, very much like the Indian Election Commission, Bangladesh Election Commission is also independent. And Election Commission of Bangladesh enjoys the full immunity under the constitutional provisions. No commissioner of the Election Commission can be removed, very much like India, without an impeachment through the parliament. So those things are there. And this is a constitutional body. There are two constitutional bodies in Bangladesh. One is Election Commission and the other one is Bangladesh Public Service Commission. So these two bodies are constitutional bodies. And Election Commission conducts election through Article 118 to 126 of the Constitution. And in the Article 120 and 126 of the Constitution of Bangladesh, it is clearly said that during election, the civil administration and the administrations related to law enforcement, they come under the jurisdiction of the Election Commission. And for anything, if they require or should they require, President of the country is bound to provide necessary support. So those things are all given there. Of course, with the experience of Indian High Commission and the other elections, or Indian Election Commission and other election commissions of the subcontinent, we can further enrich and reinforce our laws. And also the Election Commission conducts election under 8 more electoral rules they have. Not only under the provisions of the election constitution, also there are 8 rules for running the election. And so these things are there in place. কাজেই যেটি আমরা বলছিলাম যে আমাদের বাংলাদেশের যে ইলেকটোরাল সিস্টেম টোটাল, সেটি কিন্তু পৃথিবীর অনেক দেশের সাথেই খুবই সামঞ্জস্যপূর্ণ, মানসম্পন্ন, বিশ্বমানেরও। শুধু এর প্রয়োগ নিয়ে এবং এর যারা স্টেক হোল্ডার, নির্বাচনের স্টেক হোল্ডার কিন্তু সবাই। ইলেকশন কমিশন রানস দি ইলেকশনস। হ্যাঁ, ডেফিনেটলি যেটি ইন্ডিয়ান হাই কমিশনার ইন্ডিয়ান ইলেকশন কমিশনার বলেছেন যে মানুষের মধ্যে নির্বাচনে অংশগ্রহণটাকে কিন্তু এনকারেজ করার দায়িত্ব কিন্তু ইলেকশন কমিশনের আওতার মধ্যে পড়ে, সেটি তাদের করা উচিত। ইলেকশন প্রশ্নবিদ্ধ হয় তখনই যখন আমরা দেখি যে কোনো অস্বাভাবিক ফলাফল নির্বাচন কমিশন কর্তৃক ঘোষণা করা হয়ে যায়। এই জায়গাটিতে আমরা বারবারই আমরা ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরামের পক্ষ থেকে প্রফেসর আবেদ আলী এবং আমাদের অন্যান্য পরিচালকবৃন্দ আমরা কিন্তু নির্বাচন কমিশনের সাথে বিভিন্ন সময় কথা বলেছি এবং আমরা এই বিষয়টিতে আমরা জোর দিয়েছি যে নির্বাচনের ফলাফল যেন বাস্তবসম্মত হয়। আমাদের দেশে সাধারণত একটা নির্বাচনে, একটা ক্রেডিবল নির্বাচনে, আমাদের কিন্তু অনেকগুলো ক্রেডিবল নির্বাচন হয়েছে, আবার অনেকগুলো হয়নি। সেই বাস্তবতাটা কিন্তু আমরা জানি এবং মানি। কিন্তু সাধারণত কত পার্সেন্ট হয়ে থাকে, হতে পারে? এখন যদি আমরা কোথাও দেখি যে 100%-এর বেশি ভোট গ্রহণ করা হয়েছে, সেটা যদি নির্বাচন কমিশন ঘোষণা করে, তাহলে কিন্তু সেটি আমাদের পক্ষে মানা সম্ভব হয় না। আমরা ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরাম আমরা যেটি চাই সেটি হচ্ছে বাংলাদেশে একটি সুষ্ঠু নির্বাচনের ধারা প্রতিষ্ঠিত হবে আগামী যে বাংলাদেশে আমরা পদার্পণ করতে যাচ্ছি। এবং সেই জন্যই কিন্তু আমাদের 20,000 কর্মী এবং আমাদের পরিচালনা পরিষদ সবাই আমরা এই লক্ষ্যেই কাজ করে যাচ্ছি। একটা খুব সাস্টেইনেবল ডেভেলপমেন্ট গোলসের মধ্যে কিন্তু একটা বড় গোল যেটি আমাদের থাকা উচিত, দ্যাট ইজ টু স্ট্যাবলিশ এ সাস্টেইনেবল ইলেকটোরাল সিস্টেম, যেটা নিয়ে প্রতি বছর প্রতিটা ইলেকশনের সামনে এসে আমাদেরকে বারবার কথা বলতে হবে না। দ্যাট ইজ হোয়াট উই ওয়ান্ট টু সি অ্যান্ড স্ট্যাবলিশ ইন দিস কান্ট্রি। দ্যাট ইজ আওয়ার গোল, দ্যাট ইজ ওয়াই উই আর ওয়ার্কিং, দ্যাট ইজ ওয়াই ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরাম ইজ ওয়ার্কিং ইন দিস কান্ট্রি। সো লেডিজ অ্যান্ড জেন্টলম্যান, আমার মনে হয় ইট ইজ অলমোস্ট অ্যাবাউট দ্য টাইম ফর লাঞ্চ। তার আগে আমরা আমাদের এই ফোরামের মাননীয় চেয়ারম্যান অধ্যাপক আবেদ আলী, তার কাছ থেকে শুনব। তিনি একজন অত্যন্ত একনিষ্ঠ এবং দক্ষ সংগঠক, যার ফলেই কিন্তু আমরা দেশি বিদেশি বিভিন্ন পর্যবেক্ষকদেরকে বিভিন্ন সময় আমরা আমাদের এই ফোরামের মাধ্যমে আমন্ত্রণ করতে পারছি। এবং শুধু আমন্ত্রণ করতে পারছি তা নয়, এমন কখনো হয়নি যে প্রফেসর আবেদ আলী আমন্ত্রণ জানিয়েছেন ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরাম থেকে আর সেখানে আমরা রেসপন্স পাইনি, এটিও কিন্তু হয়নি। সো ইউ অলওয়েজ গট রেসপন্স, ভেরি পজিটিভ রেসপন্স ফ্রম all the election observers and our guests we invited so far. And today also we have very distinguished guests of honor from South Asia, and we are grateful to all of you, sir, His Excellencies, Her Excellencies, everyone, that you have taken all the troubles to come to Bangladesh and make this event a very successful one. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Abed Ali.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহ। উপস্থিত আজকের এই সেমিনারের অতিথিবৃন্দু, সংবাদকর্মীগণ, সকলকে আন্তরিক শুভেচ্ছা। আপনারা দীর্ঘক্ষণ আলোচনা শুনেছেন, বিশেষ করে ভারত, মালদ্বীপ, নেপাল এবং শ্রীলঙ্কার নির্বাচন কমিশনাররা এসেছেন, ওনারা কথা বলেছেন। অত্যন্ত দুঃখের বিষয় যে স্বাধীনতার 50 বছর পরে এসে বাংলাদেশের নির্বাচনটা কিভাবে হবে সেটা নিয়ে আমরা জনগণ ভাবতে হচ্ছে। সরকার যায় আসে, নির্বাচনটাকে বিতর্কিত করে। আমরা নাগরিক সমাজের পক্ষ থেকে এটা একটি গ্রহণযোগ্য সমাধান আমরা চাই। বর্তমান পরিস্থিতিতে যে রাজনৈতিক পরিস্থিতি সৃষ্টি হয়েছে, আমরা মনে করি সংঘাত, সংঘর্ষ বা ধ্বংসাত্মক কর্মসূচি দিয়ে এটা সমাধান হবে না, সলিউশন হবে না। আলোচনার মাধ্যমে, সমঝোতার মাধ্যমে এটি সলিউশন হতে পারে, সমাধান হতে পারে, এবং এর জন্য সরকারকে উদ্যোগ নিতে হবে। যেহেতু সরকার ক্ষমতায় আছে, সরকারকে এই আলোচনার জন্য উদ্যোগ নেওয়ার জন্য আমরা ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরামের পক্ষ থেকে আহ্বান জানাচ্ছি। মনে রাখতে হবে, সরকার যেহেতু ক্ষমতায় আছে, কিছুটা ছাড় দিয়ে হলেও যারা ইলেকশনে পার্টিসিপেট করবে, নির্বাচনে অংশগ্রহণ করবে, তাদের সাথে একটু আলোচনা করা উচিত। অংশগ্রহণমূলক নির্বাচন না হলে, সকল দল যদি অংশগ্রহণ না করে, সেই নির্বাচন কখনোই গ্রহণযোগ্য হতে পারে না। আমরা মনে করি সকল দলকে নির্বাচনে আনতে একটি আস্থার জায়গাকে সৃষ্টি করার জন্য সরকারের বড় একটি উদ্যোগ প্রয়োজন রয়েছে। নির্বাচন কমিশন যতই শক্তিশালী হোক না কেন, যদি সেখানে কোনো প্রভাব বিস্তার করা হয়, তাহলে একটি গ্রহণযোগ্য নির্বাচন হতে পারে না। সরকার এই জায়গাটাতে ক্লিয়ার করতে হবে যে সরকার নির্বাচন কমিশনের প্রতি কোনো প্রকার প্রভাব বিস্তার করবে না। তাহলেই বিরোধী দল বলেন যারা নির্বাচনে অংশগ্রহণ করতে চাচ্ছে না, তারাও আশ্বস্ত যদি হতে পারে যে সরকার নির্বাচন কমিশনের প্রতি হস্তক্ষেপ করবে না, তাদের ক্ষমতা বা সংবিধানে যাদের যে ক্ষমতা দেওয়া হয়েছে সেটা প্রয়োগের ক্ষেত্রে সরকার বা প্রশাসন বা এর সাথে সম্পৃক্ত যারা আছেন তারা ইলেকশন কমিশনকে প্রভাবিত করবে না, এই নিশ্চয়তাটুকু দিলে আমি আশা করি বিএনপি সহ যারা সমমনা রয়েছেন তারাও নির্বাচনে অংশগ্রহণ করবেন। আমরা প্রতিবারেই বলে আসছি, আমরা এখনও প্রত্যাশা করছি, আজকেও প্রত্যাশা করছি যে বিএনপি সহ সকল দল আগামী নির্বাচনে অংশগ্রহণ করবে। পরিশেষে আমি আর বিশেষ কিছু না বলে আগামীকালকে আমাদের কমিশনার বিন্দু নির্বাচন কমিশনের সাথে আলোচনা আছেন এবং আরও বেশ কিছু রাজনৈতিক ব্যক্তির সাথে আমরা মত বিনিময় করব। আমরা একটাই উদ্দেশ্য, গ্রহণযোগ্য, নিরপেক্ষ, শান্তিপূর্ণ একটি নির্বাচন এ জাতি যেন পায় এবং এই জন্য সংবাদকর্মী, মানবাধিকার কর্মী, সমাজকর্মী যারা আছেন সকলের সহযোগিতা প্রয়োজন। আমি মনে করি যেটা প্রফেসর জব্বার সাহেব বলেছেন, ইলেকশন কমিশন তাদের নিরপেক্ষতার জায়গাটুকুকে ক্লিয়ার করতে হবে। যে সমস্ত জায়গায় অস্বাভাবিক ভোট পড়ে আমরা পরবর্তী সময়ে দেখি এটার কোনো সলিউশন হয় না। যে কেন্দ্রে 100%-এর বেশি ভোট হয় সে কেন্দ্রেরও রেজাল্ট ঘোষণা করা হয়। সেজন্য নির্বাচন কমিশনকে এই জায়গাটুকুতে কঠিন হতে হবে এবং সেখানে কোনো প্রকার ছাড় দেওয়া যাবে না। বিশেষ করে সংবিধান যে ক্ষমতা দিয়েছে নির্বাচন কমিশনকে, সেখানে কোনো প্রকার কম্প্রোমাইজ না করলে নির্বাচন কমিশনের প্রতি সাধারণ মানুষের আস্থা আসবে বলে আমি বিশ্বাস করি। সকলকে ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে আমি আমার বক্তব্য শেষ করছি এবং আজকের সভাকে আমি সমাপ্তি ঘোষণা করছি। আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ধন্যবাদ প্রফেসর আবেদ আলী। So we have come to the completion or end of our program. So the program will now be followed by lunch. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite you all for the lunch. Thank you. On electoral systems in South Asia, the perspective of Bangladesh 12th National Parliament election. I am Professor Dr. Abdul Jabbar Khan, the Director of Election Monitoring Forum and spokesman of Election Monitoring Forum as well. At the very outset, we'll all stand up and pay respect while our national anthem is played. So I request you all to please stand up and pay respect to our national anthem.
আমার সোনার বাংলা, আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি, চিরদিন তোমার আকাশ, চিরদিন তোমার আকাশ, তোমার বাতাস আমার প্রাণে, ওমা আমার প্রাণে বাজায় বাঁশি সোনার বাংলা, আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি। ওমা ফাগুনে তো রামের মনে প্রাণে পাগল করে, মনে হায় হায় রে ওমা ফাগুনে তো আমের মনে প্রাণে পাগল করে, ওমা ঘ্রাণে তোর ভরা থেকে কি দেখেছি, আমি কি দেখেছি মধুর হাসি সোনার বাংলা, আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি। কি শোভা কি ছায়া গো, কি স্নেহ কি মায়া গো, কি আঁচল বিছায়েছ বটের মূলে, নদীর কূলে কূলে, মাতর মুখের বাণী আমার কানে লাগে সুধার মতো, মরি হায় হায় রে মাতর মুখের বাণী আমার কানে লাগে সুধার মতো। নয়ন ওমা আমি নয়ন জলে ভাসি সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are glad to inform you that amongst us today we have very special guests from abroad. Among us we have Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, the former Chief Election Commissioner, India, Mr. Fuad Tawfiq, Chairman, Election Commission, Maldives, Mr. R.M.A.L. Ratnaik, Chairman, Election Commission, Sri Lanka, Mr. Shegun Shamsher J.B. Rana, Election Commissioner, Nepal, and Mrs. Ila Sharma, former Election Commissioner, Nepal. And also amongst us, we have all of you, the very distinguished and valued presence. Among us, we have the former Chief Justice, judges, lawyers, journalists, professors of different universities, distinguished member of the University Grants Commission, businessmen, and of course, the media people. So without any further ado, let me continue with the program. First of all, we'll watch an introductory video of Election Monitoring Forum, what we are and what we do as Election Monitoring Forum. That will be shown in the following video. Please watch the video. Thank you.
Election Monitoring Forum. Election Monitoring Forum is the largest election monitoring organization in Bangladesh, which was officially approved by the Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. It was formed in November 2018 with a total of 57 organizations, including 31 monitoring organizations and 26 NGOs registered by the Bangladesh Election Commission. Mission and vision of the Election Monitoring Forum: presenting accurate information and pictures of the pre-election situation, during the election and post-election situation in the national and international arenas, enhancing the image of the country by establishing good relations among diplomats and international observers by presenting the electoral system of Bangladesh to them, observing the elections of the national parliament, city corporations and local government election, and publishing election observation reports through press conferences, organizing various meeting, seminar and civil dialogue, including observer workshops, awareness publications, cooperation with Election Commission activities, awareness and motivation of voters to their vote. Activities of the Election Monitoring Forum. The Election Monitoring Forum played an important role in monitoring the 11 National Assembly elections, local government elections, city corporation elections, by-elections and presidential elections in the Maldives. Important aspects of election monitoring of EMF: to submit a report and recommendations to the Election Commission after impartial observation on the ground. inviting international observers to assess the pre-election situation during election observation and post-election political environment to ensure international standards of our observation activities. During the election period, various complaints of candidates and voters about the environment of the polling stations are reported to the Election Commission of Bangladesh, with recommendations for necessary measures are taken. Provide training to observers for the preparation before elections. Publication of leaflets, posters and books on observation principles and various voting restrictions. EMF organizes seminars, discussion meetings and civil dialogue to encourage voter turnout. Publication. The Election Monitoring Forum promotes and publishes various publications including voting procedures, observer guides, leaflets, posters and festoons aimed at increasing voter awareness. 11th National Assembly Election Observation. In 2018, 17,165 polling stations of 239 constituencies were monitored by the Election Monitoring Forum through 8,811 observers from 57 member organizations of the 11th National Parliament election. Through the Election Monitoring Forum, 11 international observers from different countries, including Canada, India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, and Maldives, reported to the Election Commission after observing the election situation. International and diplomatic relations. Leaders of the Election Monitoring Forum, a courtesy meeting and exchanging views on elections, democracy, suffrage, and rule of law with diplomats of Canada, Brazil, Britain, European Union, Brunei, France, Iran, Iraq, Norway, Oman, Qatar, Palestine, Russia, Spain, Sweden, Turkey, India, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Nepal, and Bhutan. Secretary General of SAARC, international observers and election commissions of various countries, which has been appreciated in various countries of the world, including the diplomatic arena located in Bangladesh. Bangladesh Election Commission and EMF. The director of the Election Monitoring Forum and international observers exchange views with the Election Commission to assist the activities of the Election Commission. Exchange views with various political parties and senior ministers. The directors of the Election Monitoring Forum, including international observers, exchange views with the prominent political parties of Bangladesh and senior ministers of the government of Bangladesh for the purpose of fair and acceptable elections. Governing Council of Election Monitoring Forum. Chairman, Professor Muhammad Abid Ali, Secretary General, SAARC Human Rights Foundation. Director, Muhammad Shahnawaz, former Commissioner, Bangladesh Election Commission. Director, Professor Dr. Muhammad Habibur Rahman, Vice Chancellor, Dhaka University of Engineering and Technology, Duet. Director, Professor Dr. Abdul Jabbar Khan, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, Buet. Director, Professor Dr. Muhammad Abul Kalam Azad, Pro Vice Chancellor, Islamic Arabic University. Director, Muhammad Tanbirul Islam, Human Rights Organizer. Director, Dr. Muhammad Azadul Haq, Agricultural Economist and Social Activist. Director, Muhammad Iqbal Bahar, Development Worker and Human Rights Organizer. Election Monitoring Forum on Media. Various meetings, press conferences, awareness activities, observer training workshops, national and local government election monitoring news of the Election Monitoring Forum are disseminated and published in various media. Election Monitoring Forum continues to support Bangladesh Election Commission to ensure voting rights, acceptable, neutral, free and fair elections. Our efforts are continuing to ensure democracy and voting rights. Election Monitoring Forum.
Thank you. Thanks for watching the introductory video about Election Monitoring Forum. আমাদের এখানে অনেক মিডিয়া কর্মী আছেন, তাদের উদ্দেশ্যে আমি বিশেষভাবে একটু বাংলায় বলছি যে সম্প্রতি আমরা দেখেছি যে ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরামের আপনারা এর একটি ইন্ট্রোডাকশন পেয়েছেন, কিন্তু আমাদেরকে নিয়ে মাঝে মাঝে কিছু ধূম্রজাল সৃষ্টি করার চেষ্টা করা হচ্ছে। বলা হচ্ছে যে আমরা আদৌ কোনো নিবন্ধিত সংগঠন কিনা বা ইত্যাদি ইত্যাদি। তা আমি আপনাদেরকে যদি আপনারা ক্যামেরা কেউ জুম করতে পারেন আমি দেখাতে পারি যে দিস ইজ আওয়ার সার্টিফিকেট অফ ইনকর্পোরেশন। সো ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরাম is a registered forum under the section 28 of the Company Act 1994. So this is very much a registered forum যেটি নিয়ে বিভিন্ন মহল থেকে এখন যেহেতু সামনে নির্বাচন আছে সেজন্য কিন্তু নানান ধরনের ভোলাটিলিটি সৃষ্টি করার চেষ্টা করা হচ্ছে। তো আপনারা সবাই এ ব্যাপারে আমাদেরকে সহযোগিতা করবেন সেটি আমরা আশা করছি। and you have already heard that Election Monitoring Forum is an alliance of 56 organizations, and all over across the country we have more than 20,000 workers working with the Election Monitoring Forum. যার ফলে আমরা কিন্তু we started our journey back in 2018, and since then we have monitored at least 500 elections, local and national. সব কিছু মিলে কিন্তু আমাদের ইলেকশন মনিটরিংয়ের যে অভিজ্ঞতা সেটি বাংলাদেশে আর কারো নেই। So in one sentence I can tell you that this is the largest election monitoring platform of Bangladesh. এটি নিয়ে কোনো রকম কোনো দ্বিধা বা দ্বন্দ্বের কোনো কারণ নেই। এবং আমরা যে we are inviting the election observers. We invite the election observers following the Election Observation Guidelines 2017 prepared by the Election Commission. So only under that legal framework we invite our election observers in the country. And so far through this platform, through this forum, that is the Election Monitoring Forum, আপনারা ভিডিওতে দেখেছেন সেটা একটু আগের ভিডিও ছিল, so far we have invited or through Election Monitoring Forum 27 election observers have visited Bangladesh recently in the last 5 years. And the election observers we have invited from different countries. We have invited from Canada, we have invited from Nepal, we have invited from India, Sri Lanka, Germany, Bhutan, United States of America, Ireland, Japan and China. So we are actually trying to gather the election observers from all over the country through Election Monitoring Forum. And why do we do that? আপনারা এর মধ্যে অলরেডি দেখেছেন, because the election observers are the eyes and ears of an election. Like the media, আমরা যেটা বলি the media people, আপনারা কিন্তু একটা ইলেকশন শুদ্ধ হচ্ছে কিনা, ঠিকঠাক মতো হচ্ছে কিনা, সুষ্ঠুভাবে একটা নির্বাচন অনুষ্ঠিত হচ্ছে কিনা, আপনারাই হচ্ছেন সেই ইলেকশন মনিটরিংয়ের আপনার কান এবং চোখ। আমরা একটি ফোরাম, বাট আপনারা যারা আছেন, অল দি মিডিয়া পিপুল, ইউ আর দি এক্সটেন্ডেড ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরাম, অ্যান্ড ইউ আর দেয়ার ফর মনিটরিং অল দি ইলেকশনস। আমরা কিন্তু কখনো কোথাও, উই নেভার ট্রাভেল অ্যালোন, উই অলওয়েজ ট্রাভেল উইথ অল আওয়ার মিডিয়া পিপুল, সো দ্যাট আমরা যদি কোথাও কোনো কিছু মিস করে থাকি, দে ক্যান অ্যাড্রেস দ্যাট। So that is how we work as election monitoring forum. So at this point of time, let me invite our today's keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Mohammad Sajjad Hussain, and let me give a brief introduction of Professor Dr. Mohammad Sajjad Hussain to you, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Dr. Mohammad Sajjad Hussain is an eminent researcher, a teacher, a professor, and a very good organizer of Bangladesh. He is currently serving as a learned member of the Bangladesh University of Grants Commission. In fact, this is his second tenure as member of Bangladesh University Grants Commission. So we can give a big hand for him. He is an ICT expert. He is the president of Education, Research and Development Forum of Bangladesh. In brief, it is called ERDFB. ERDFB consists of all the teachers of the universities of Bangladesh, public and private. And he is the he's the founder president of this Education, Research, Development Forum of Bangladesh. And through this forum, he is actively working to highlight the positivities, the achievements of Bangladesh, and fighting to establish a non-communal, secular Bangladesh. That is what we all dream about. He is also a director of Bangladesh Satellite Company Limited. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Professor Dr. Mohammad Sajjad Hussain, the keynote speaker of today's occasion.
Very good morning. Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, adab. আমার ইয়েটা লাগবে, প্রেজেন্টেশনটা লাগবে। I hope you all introduced about election monitoring forum, and we know what is the importance of our election, and it is a forthcoming election on 12. No, soft copy I have. This is very crucial for election. So distinguished guests, especially our guest from, very distinguished guest from India, former Chief Election Commissioner, and also Chairman, another distinguished guest, Chairman Election Commission Maldives, Chairman Election Commission Sri Lanka, Election Commissioner Nepal, former Election Commissioner Nepal. So we are related to each other. This is SAARC, South Asia. So at the very beginning, I would like to pay my greatest respect to the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, founding father of the nation. So we all know the history of Bangladesh. 71, we all know, and we have I would rather say we are a winner nation. We liberated our country, and we fought for our nation, freedom, sovereignty, and also we are the nation who fought for the language in 1952. And father of the nation, Bangabandhu, under his leadership, we fought for language, we fought for our country, a sovereign country. That is very important. That is very crucial for our democracy. We fought for democracy. We fought for language. And we established in the world, this is a nation, a pride nation that established international mother language. So, at the beginning, I am planning to giving a space that we are a nation and a proud nation, and our friends, our neighbors, all are proud nation. Like India, it's a democratic country in South Asia and world largest democracy. We have Sri Lanka, it's a democratic country. We have Nepal, so we have Maldives, and recently they have an election and democratic way they have a power transfer. So I would request, I would be in for our distinguished guest, and we have here Honorable Vice Chancellors, Honorable Justice, ex-Justice, Pro-Vice Chancellors, Deans, Heads, Journalists, distinguished businessmen, Professors, Deans, and Honorable Chairman of the Election Monitoring Forum, and all members of Election Monitoring Forum. It's a very timely and very befitting program today. This seminar, again, I am very much proud and given me a chance to deliver this keynote speech. With the 12th parliament election just around the corner, Bangladesh is at another crucial juncture in its democratic development. The approaching election, which are garnering both local and global attention, puts South Asia's complex electoral dynamics into sharp relief. It is a good time to examine the broader ramification for democracy in its varied areas of Bangladesh gears up for another election. This is where I am addressing. And I would request, I would be sometimes in Bengali as well, due to the audience and our media, and for all. That is, I would sometimes go for, and I have also given this keynote in English, and also I have a Bengali version for media. I would, my media, what Professor Jabbar mentioned, that election is a crucial for our nation. Election is a crucial for democracy. Election crucial for our transparency and governance. That is why this forum and this journey is important, monitoring is important, and media is important. Journalists, বন্ধুদের importance হচ্ছে they are the eyes and ears of election. So today we are presenting what is going on, and what is going on, I hope our expert and commissioners will express how a sovereign country goes on elections. And we have a history of elections. So the methods and laws governing elections are known as electoral system. They have a significant impact on how elections turn out, how legislatures are made, and how democracy a country is. Voting system in South Asia are different because of the region's diversities. South Asia is a diverse country, very big population. So first past the post, FPTP. Second slide, yes. The most popular system determines the winner by counting the votes. আমরা সরাসরি ভোটের মাধ্যমে যেটা সবচেয়ে বেশি ভোট হবে তাকেই আমরা উইনার ঘোষণা করি. That is in each constituency. There are another system, proportional representation, PR, and mixed member proportional system. আরেকটা আছে mixed member, and single transferable votes are another system utilized in South Asia. These are the systems in South Asia. There are different types of democracy in the world. America is a unique type of democracy. আপনারা সবাই জানেন American democracy is a different type. So I mentioned already, India has its own democracy type. Bangladesh has a different type of democracy. But whatever the method, the people have direct and indirect decision making power. This is a very key. People have direct or indirect decision making power. For example, in Bangladesh, MPs are elected by direct vote of the people and head of the winning party of a designated person. Designated person becomes the prime minister. MPs are directly elected and they decide who will be the prime minister. Although there is no direct participation of the peoples, he became the head of the government, but the president is elected by the votes of the MPs. Our president is elected by the votes of the MPs. So although there is no direct proportion of the people, the president is actually elected through the designated representative of the people. Where after the independence of Bangladesh, the first general election was held in 1973. We all know that 1973 have a democratic process we started, but we had an earlier election in 1970, and the party win all votes, but didn't allow to rule the country. That was a history. The elections were held in 1977, 1985, 1988, 1991. I hope here is there. 1996, 1996, 2001, 1996, 1996, 2001, 2008, 2014, 2018. But the 1977 election was general GS election, yes or no vote. And not all are error free. All elections, we have some errors. In all over the world, there are elections and not all error free. That is the Bangladesh election process. The voting process employed in Bangladesh electoral system in first past the post FPTP, a simple plurality system. I already mentioned, আমি আগেই বলেছি যে আমাদের সিঙ্গেল প্লুরালিটি মানে আমরা মেজরিটিকে এবং হাইয়েস্ট ভোট কাউন্ট করেই সরাসরি হাইয়েস্ট ভোট কাউন্ট করেই সিদ্ধান্ত নেই। There are 350 total parliamentary seats for election in Bangladesh, 50 of which are reserved for women. আমাদের 50টা সিট রিজার্ভ থাকে ওমেনের জন্য, নারীদের জন্য। The candidate with the most votes in a constituency wins, used to fill the 300 directly elected seats. A proportion representative system is used to fill the 50 reserved seats. Proportion system, PR system is allowed in 50 seats, allocating a certain number of seats to each party based on how much of the total vote is it received. The parliamentary system is the cornerstone on which the country's democratic governance is built. This is another key, that parliamentary system is the cornerstone on which the country's democratic governance is built. Bangladesh current electoral system has been in place since 1996. So it has own recognition for being straightforward and impartial. It has also, I would tell our journalist friends that our election system has its own impartial scenario. The reason is we all people are democratic. We fought for democracy and our people are very conscious on democracy. আমাদের জনগণ গণতন্ত্রের জন্য একেবারেই সবসময় মুখিয়ে থাকে এবং সবসময় ট্রান্সপারেন্সি, করাপশনলেস ট্রান্সপারেন্সি এবং চায় যে যার যার ভোট সে দিবে, সেরকম একটি সেন্টিমেন্ট আমাদের মধ্যে কাজ করে। সো the Bangladesh current electoral system has been in it has own recognition. Okay, here are some key aspects of Bangladesh electoral system. Candidate eligibility, I hope everyone knows, but for the audience I am telling, candidate must satisfy a specific requirement in order to be eligible to run in the parliamentary election. They must be Bangladeshi citizen and at least 25 years old. To formally enter the electoral contest, prospective candidates must also submit their nomination papers during the nomination period along with necessary paperwork and cost. Voter registration. Citizens of Bangladesh who intend to take part in the election process must be at least 18 years old and possess a current national identification card. This is also important for candidate voters. They should currently have a national identification card. Voter eligibility and valid identification are ensured through the registration procedure. This is also ensured through a registration. What I'm trying to tell that our election process, আমাদের নিজস্ব নির্বাচন ব্যবস্থাটা খুবই ট্রান্সপারেন্ট এবং সবই তথ্যভিত্তিক এবং রেজিস্ট্রেশন ভিত্তিক। একজন ইলেকশনের যারা ইলেকশন করছেন তার যেমন তথ্য থাকতে হবে, সম্পূর্ণ তথ্য উপাত্ত থাকতে হবে ট্যাক্স সহ আমাদের ইলেকশনের নিয়ম অনুযায়ী, এবং যারা ভোটার দিবেন তাদেরও নিজস্ব তথ্য থাকতে হবে, রেজিস্ট্রেশন থাকতে হবে, আইডেন্টিফিকেশন থাকতে হবে। সো মেল প্র্যাকটিস করা বা কোনো ধরনের মেল প্র্যাকটিস করা আমাদের ইলেকশন সিস্টেমে ভেরি ডিফিকাল্ট, খুব কষ্টসাধ্য। সো ভোটার এলিজিবিলিটি and which is required for election participation. According to the announcement of the present government, the 12th parliamentary election will be held in January, and it will be according to the current constitution. We have a independent constitution. That is very important. We fought for a country, and we have a sovereign country, and we have a constitution. And it is up to the people who they elect. That is also in democratic rights. That is, it is up to the people who they will elect. But among all the elections held in Bangladesh so far, the election is very different due to two reasons. Very different two reasons. First, the ruling party R.M.A.L and this election is very different, very key. The first ruling party of R.M.A.L and its allies have been elected 3 times in a row. 3 বার জাতীয় সংসদে বর্তমান ক্ষমতাধীন সরকার এবং তার অ্যালায়েন্স 3 বার ইলেক্টেড হয়েছে। That is the reason this is a very key, and second, foreign powers, especially the US, have chosen the upcoming parliament election to implement their agenda. But why? There are the countries in South Asia. The happenings of these countries can assist us to understand the current situation of Bangladesh. For instance, the fall of Imran Khan, prime ministership in the outcome of the opposition of the United States. The difficulties that this South Asian nation confront are similar to those that Bangladesh is experiencing. Again, very vital point for our honorable election commissioners from our South Asia, that South Asian nation confront are similar to those Bangladesh is experiencing. Similar. The different that South bringing up topics like the necessity of robust opposition, open elections, and the fight against corruptions. Let's take a look at the recent election in South Asia. I will be very brief here. How the electoral system neighboring countries work. Indian election system. Honorable Chief Election Commissioner, former Chief Election Commissioner is here. I hope he will elaborate. But India's voting system is a hybrid one. India is a significant South Asian country. In legislative election, it combines FPTP with PR to provide representation for both independent candidates and political parties. Although strong India's democracy nevertheless confronts obstacles including corruption, political divisiveness, and the need for election changes. Sri Lankan electoral system. Sri Lanka, a nation in South Asia, holds parliament election using a form of proportional representation. The goal of this method is to guarantee the representation of diverse political and racial grouping. Power disputes, instability, and desire for peace after a participated civil war are just a few of the difficulties it faces. Pakistan's election condition, general election will be held in Pakistan in the last week of January 2024. Pakistan is currently the only country in South Asia where a caretaker government exists, is currently in power. Despite the obligation to hold general election in Pakistan by November 6, a statement has been made by the Election Commission that their election have been postponed due to the need for new boundaries. However, the United States has no problem with the election. The reason is that Imran Khan, the most popular leader of Pakistan and leader of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, is in jail, and all events for his participation in the elections have been blocked. He was first deposed, then jailed for going against the US. And at the same time, the US put their allies in power in Pakistan. Maldives general election. Most recently, general elections were held in Maldives. Pro-Chinese opposition leader Mohammad Muizzu defeated incumbent President Ibrahim Mohammad Saleh in a vote. The current President Ibrahim Mohammad Saleh made a statement accepting this is a culture, accepting election and the verdict of the common people. Despite claims of manipulation, there is a prosperity in India in Sri Lanka. India এবং শ্রীলঙ্কাতে একটা রেওয়াজ আছে একটা, this is a prosperity. They accept the vote. The opposition accept the vote. Two of the biggest democracies in the world to accept the vote of common citizens. Bangladesh, however, Bangladesh and Pakistan lack this culture to accept the verdict of citizens, especially by the opposition. Since both monarchies and monarchical democracies exist, Nepal and Bhutan are distinct from one another. Afghanistan is not included. Democracy has been absent for many years as the Taliban administration is currently in charge. What are the West and so-called developed nations planning? It is obvious that West and so-called developed nations want to make upcoming election in Bangladesh free, fair, neutral, and participatory. And that is why they are constantly putting pressure on Bangladesh. The question may be why they want free and fair election in Bangladesh. The question may be that the countries where there is no democracy, please listen. The question may also be that in countries where there is no democracy and the people of that country do not want to see the kings or emperors in power, why are they silent about these countries? And who gave them the right to poke their nose into the internal affairs of a country? Very important, আমি আপনাদের কাছে জ্ঞাতার্থে বলছি, ওয়েস্ট অর যারা আমাদেরকে গণতন্ত্র শেখাতে চায় বা ফ্রি ফেয়ার ইলেকশনের কথা বলে, তারা কেন যেখানে মনার্কি আছে বা আরো আনডেমোক্রেটিক কান্ট্রিজ আছে সেখানে কিন্তু কোনো কথা বলছেন না। আমাদের ফ্রি ফেয়ার ইলেকশন নিয়ে তাদের মাথা ব্যথা। We have seen it in 1971, we have seen in 1975, we have seen in 1970, among all over the world. Amra recent election, Pakistan and Maldives, and we have seen in Turkey. So that is our question, that is our valid problem, that the people, what are the silent about these countries? That is our question, that tara ei byapare silent keno, tara ei byapare chup keno. The people of this country know that some of the superpower did in 1971, but their behavior in a free, sovereign, democratic country has reached the limit of decency. এটাও একটা আপনাদেরকে, that is a decency has limit over exceeded. We fought for the country. That is at the very beginning of our key speech. that we fought for the country. Our people is very much careful, very much transparent, and very much aware of their democratic right. So very recently we can see the determination of relation between India and Canada. Like Canada, India is not only expelling Canadian diplomats but also expelling them from the country. The question may be why we are tolerating the trespassers like the West and so-called developed nations. The answer is very simple. আমরা কেন সহ্য করছি? We are still an important dependent country. এটাই আমাদের problem. Still we are a dependent country. The country, a large part of what we export is to United States. Even if we cannot keep them happy, conflicting relation with them are a threat to our geographical and economic security. Various sources believe that the West has several strategies for Bangladesh elections. Some of the developed countries of the West have now assumed an all-out aggressor role in relation to Bangladesh. Even they do not hesitate to make statement on the minor issues of Bangladesh. They seek amendment repeal of Digital Cyber Security Act through constitution pressures on the government. They want to candidate neutral elections, keeping in mind the issues of good governance, human rights, money laundering, etc. They want to involve the civil society, politics. An example will make this clear in 2008. This is another mention I want to give you a point. In 2008, Dr. Muhammad Yunus' desire to do politics was born out of such circumstances. Then US wants the government of Bangladesh to be flexible on Yunus on different issues. They will not recognize the election anyway. If the BNP or does not participate in the upcoming national election, they want to bring BNP to election anyway. If they can't bring BNP to the poll in the end, they want a government like Fakhruddin Moinuddin again. In the name of good governance, they want to bring other countries into their fold. Unless India is neutralized, it is impossible for them to implement any agenda. That is why they want to neutralize India. Their main goal is to remove R.M.A.L from power by any means. Everyone knows what role the West and so-called developed nations played in the war of independence. Everyone knows about their relation with the assassination of Bangabandhu. Historically, some of them are not the friends of Bangladesh, and BNP Jamaat is taking this opportunity. That is why the next election is going to the biggest challenge for this government. First challenge for the government is not to give the West a chance. The second challenge is to conduct fair election in a constitutional manner. The third challenge is to bring BNP to the election. The final challenge is to prove the motto of friendship to all but malice to none. আমরা সকলের সাথে বন্ধুত্ব চাই, যেটি বঙ্গবন্ধু চেয়েছিলেন, কারোর সাথে বৈরতা নয়। সেটি বাংলাদেশের ফরেন পলিসি। এবং আমরা একটি ছোট দেশ, এবং সেই ছোট দেশে আমরা ডেমোক্রেটিক রাইটস নিয়ে, সভরেন রাইট নিয়ে উই ওয়ান্ট টু লিভ, সার্ভাইভ অ্যান্ড উই হ্যাভ এ ইলেকশন। এবং সেই ইলেকশনটা সাংবিধানিক উপায়ে মানুষের ভোটের মাধ্যমে, জনগণের ভোটের মাধ্যমে আমি মনে করি অনুষ্ঠিত হবে। এবং ইলেকশন কমিশন হ্যাজ দ্য রাইট অথরিটি, রাইট স্ট্রাকচার, এবং দে হ্যাভ অল ইলেকশন প্রসিডিউরস, দে হ্যাভ কনস্টিটিউশনাল অল রাইট অ্যাজ অ্যাক্ট। তো তাদের আমার মানে হোয়াট আই এম মেকিং এ পয়েন্ট ফর আওয়ার ডিস্টিংগুইশড গেস্ট দ্যাট our system has developed from 50 years of system developed for election and voting since 1973. আমরা 73 থেকে ভোট করছি, বা তার আগে থেকে 52 আন্দোলন থেকে 52 যখন আমরা when we started our journey in 1948-47 as a different country, East Pakistan and Bangladesh, West Pakistan and India, but বঙ্গবন্ধু সেই নেতৃত্ব দিয়েছেন যে নেতৃত্ব একটি গণতান্ত্রিক অধিকার রক্ষার জন্য, যেই আমাদের ফাদার অফ দ্য নেশন ফট ফর again and again for our right, for our language right, for our voting rights. So this is seminar is very crucial for our honorable members. They will see what is going on their country as a constitutional way. If we abide by constitution, if we abide by our sovereignty, if we abide by our self-respect, আমরা আত্মমর্যাদাশীল জাতি, আমরা বিজয়ী জাতি, আমাদের গর্বের জায়গা হচ্ছে মুক্তিযুদ্ধ। I pay respect to our 3 million martyrs who fought for our country. I pay respect to our national who fought for our countries, and I pay respect to the father of the nation again and again, and the families বঙ্গমাতা শেখ ফজিলাতুন্নেসা মুজিব, শেখ কামাল, শেখ জামাল, শেখ রাসেল সহ যারা 75-এ 15ই আগস্টে নৃশংস হত্যাকাণ্ডের শিকার হন, তাদেরকে রেসপেক্ট করে, আমাদের বীর মুক্তিযোদ্ধা শহীদদেরকে রেসপেক্ট করে, তাদের জন্য এই দেশ আমরা পেয়েছি, তাদের কারণেই আমরা এই সুন্দর একটি অদম্য বাংলাদেশ পেয়েছি। 18 কোটি মানুষ এখানে বাস করছে। This is a densely populated country. 170 million in officially, it might be 180 million people living in this country. So if chaos, if the struggle of this nation comes with a foreign interference, there will be, we are think that there will be extremism, there will be more like tank, truck, arms, and many things. We are not going back. We want an election which will be participated by all, and this election will be a truly participatory. Voters will take the participation, and voter will decide. The people of the people of the country will decide who will win and who will rule this country. That is our democracy. With this word, and I am again thanking our commissioners, chief commissioners from our neighboring country, South Asia. I'm very delighted and happy to see them. We will be listening them, and this is my end. And I also respect our chairman, election monitoring firm, and Professor Jabbar and all directors who organized this, and especially I thank our media people. This is a crucial day. Today is a crucial day, you know. Your presence makes this occasion a successful one, and you will deliver to the people. You will take our lesson to the people that we want a peaceful journey to democracy, a peaceful country, prosperous country, a secular country. With this word, I thank my word. I conclude my speech. Thank you all. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu, long live Bangladesh.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Mohammad Sajjad Hussain, for very insightful and an elaborate presentation, I would say, on the electoral system of South Asia in particular, and with special emphasis on the Bangladesh perspective and the upcoming election as well. Ladies and gentlemen, amongst us we have the High Commissioners from Maldives and Sri Lanka, and also we have attaches from Embassy of Russian Federation and Embassy of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. Before I call upon our next speaker on the stage, let me give you some information about Bangladesh, especially for the guests who are from abroad. You all know that we got our independence back in 1971, and when we started our journey with a new country in 1972, our per capita income was only $91 US. আমরা যখন 1972 সালে আমাদের যাত্রা শুরু করি, তখন আমাদের মাথাপিছু আয় ছিল মাত্র $91। In 1975, when the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was assassinated along with his family members, the per capita income of this country was $260 60 US dollar. So only in 3 years' time, during his regime, the per capita income was 4 times. And in what Bangladesh? In which Bangladesh? That time it was a war-torn Bangladesh, completely shattered. Nothing was there. No road communication, no rail communication, nothing in the agricultural field and everything. And for Bangladesh, like the Western Europe, we never had any US Marshall Plan. You all know about US Marshall Plan, which was formed or given in the year 1948. যুদ্ধ বিধ্বস্ত পশ্চিম ইউরোপকে বিনির্মাণের জন্য একটি ইউএস মার্শাল প্ল্যান হয়েছিল 1948 সালে, and that was worth 15 billion US dollar that time. 1948 সালের 15 বিলিয়ন হচ্ছে আজকে 200 বিলিয়নের সমান. So that was there for rebuilding the Western Europe, but there was nothing, no fund, no plan as such for rebuilding the war-torn Bangladesh. সেখান থেকে মাত্র 3 বছরে বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিবুর রহমান মাথা পিছু আয় $91 থেকে $260 করেছিলেন। এরপরে যেটি হলো, after the assassination of বঙ্গবন্ধু, it was a military dictatorship in the country. We had unconstitutional government until 1991, that is for 16 years after the killing of the father of the nation. এই 16 বছরে, in these 16 years, do you know what was our addition of per capita income? The regimes in the 16 years of unconstitutional system, they could add only 23 US dollar to what was left by the father of the nation. 16 years gone, only $23 were added to the per capita income. So unconstitutional governments can dent, not only dent, it can damage the progress of any country. And that is a clear statistics and example. So we cannot go back. We cannot go back to any unconstitutional system anymore. No way. Because we have these statistics, we have all this experience of the past. And now we are sitting in a Bangladesh. In the year 2023, our per capita income is around 3,000 US dollar, and our GDP size is about 500 billion US dollar. And very soon, hopefully within next 5 years, we will be a member of $1 trillion economy. We are already a 35th strongest economic country in the world. So those things are all there. And we well understand, as Professor Sajjad Hussain said, why we are drawing so much attention of the West, because of all these developments happening around in Bangladesh. So we'll hear more from our speakers. And now I would like to invite Professor Mahfuzul Islam, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Digital University, to speak a few words on this auspicious occasion. And I would like to request him to make it brief. I'll make it longer, but he will make it brief. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Distinguished guest, the Chairman and Director of the Election Monitoring Forum, ladies and gentlemen, and journalists, and all who are present in this big special occasions. Thank you very much for inviting me to tell something in this occasion. I would like to say that the Bangladeshi people are very concerned about their rights, especially their voting rights. Since 1947, the people started to fight against the corruptions, against the creating differences by the political parties. And finally, we got our independence in 1970 based on fights done by the Bangladeshi peoples. And then after, the peoples are very much concerned. Even in the tea stall or village, areas, you will find that people are now discussing about the politics of Bangladesh. So this is very real scenario in case of Bangladesh. Now, we have seen all type of governments in Bangladesh. We have seen the military government, we have seen military-backed government, we have seen democratic government, we have seen yes, no vote, and we have seen the total democratic election, and we also have seen the caretaker governments as well. And based on those experiences, Bangladesh is now in the stable state of democracy. I can say that. And Professor Jobbar has already mentioned that our development has very much related with the democracy or the government form. Like that, when we have seen the military-backed government or military government, our growth has stopped. When we have got the democratic government, our growth has rise. So these are the scenarios. So our development is very much related with the government we have faced so far. In that scenario, so since we have in the stable democracy, we have the stable phase of development as well. As the Professor Jobbar has already mentioned that we have make a good success in Bangladesh in case of economic growth, in case of development, and in case of all sectors. We have implemented 10 mega projects just last few years. Now, we are expecting to have a tremendous growth in future based on the implementation of these 10 mega projects. Now, the democracy is stable at this moment. I can give an example like that. The Bangladesh government has invented the EVM machine. Bangladesh Election Commission has invented EVM machines. And despite of having 1,500 free, fair, and partial elections with the EVM, based on the demands of the opposition party, government has dropped to use EVM in this election. And government has decided to use ballot paper just only to satisfy the opposition parties. So in this scenario, I think Bangladesh is mature enough to take its own decision. No interference and no suggestion against the decision of Bangladesh will be helpful, but the suggestion may come to improve whatever we have decided and how we can enhance our democracy in this way. Especially, we have seen the caretaker government. So caretaker government is no longer beneficial for the country, and it has been already declared invalid by the court. Thank you very much, and we hope that our 12th permanent election will be free, fair, and impartial with the efforts of Bangladesh own and with the suggestion to and modify our decision in in the right path we are moving towards. Thank you very much to all. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Professor Mahfuzul Islam. Very recently, one international observer, they visited Bangladesh, Mr. Terry Easley from United States of America, and he is the deputy head of mission of US STO and also an international certified election observer. He gave observations on 3 distinct issues. আমাদের যারা মিডিয়া কর্মী আছেন তাদেরকে আমি বলবো যে আপনারা যদি মনে করেন তাহলে I can give you this document. You can go through it. Mr. Easley or Mr. Terry, উনি কেয়ারটেকার গভর্নমেন্ট বাংলাদেশের জন্য প্রয়োজন আছে কিনা বা লিগ্যাল ফ্রেমওয়ার্কটা কি সেটি সম্পর্কে উনি একটা রিপোর্ট দিয়েছেন। United Nations, whether or not United Nation can administer election in Bangladesh, এটিও কিন্তু এসেছে. This is very much on the table. সেটি নিয়েও we got a report from the international observers এবং আমাদের ইলেকশন কমিশনের যে ক্যাপাবিলিটি সেটি নিয়েও তারা বলেছেন. সো আপনারা যদি ইন্টারেস্টেড হন আপনারা বলতে পারেন. শুধু আমি একটু সংক্ষেপে বলবো. About the caretaker government, the observation given by Terry was it would be unconstitutional and illegal. That is the first sentence. No legal framework exists to set up, appoint, or otherwise authorize a caretaker government. এবং উনি যেটি ফাইনালি বলেছেন, in May of 2011, Bangladesh's Supreme Court ruled out the system of interim administrations using a caretaker authority to manage or organize elections, and transfer of power to a newly elected government would be unconstitutional. So that was his report. At this point of time, let me welcome the Justice Siddiqur Rahman Mia and also the President of the SAARC Human Rights Foundation to come over the dais and speak a few words on this occasion.
বিসমিল্লাহির রহমানির রহিম। অধ্যকারী অনুষ্ঠানের সম্মানিত সভাপতি, উপস্থিত বিদেশে থেকে আগত সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দ, সুধীমণ্ডলী, মিডিয়া কর্মীগণ, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আজকে আমি আনন্দিত যে বিদেশ থেকে আমাদের সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দ এসেছেন, ওনাদের বক্তব্য পেশ করবেন, আপনারা শুনবেন। আমি শুধু বলতে যে এই দেশ স্বাধীন করেছি, আমি একজন মুক্তিযোদ্ধা। এদেশের জন্য আমরা যুদ্ধ করেছি। এই দেশের ইতিহাস সম্পর্কে বলতে গেলে বলতে হয় 1949 সালে জিন্নাহ সাহেব বলেছিলেন, উর্দু শ্যাল বি দ্য স্টেট ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ অফ পাকিস্তান। সেই সময় আমার জাতির জনক বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিবুর রহমান প্রতিবাদ করেছিলেন, নো নো, উর্দু শ্যাল নট বি দ্য স্টেট ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ অফ পাকিস্তান। এরপর থেকে শুরু হয় আন্দোলন। আপনারা জানেন 52-এর ভাষা আন্দোলন, 54 সনের নির্বাচন, 6 দফা আন্দোলন, 69-এর গণ আন্দোলন এবং 70-এর নির্বাচন, বঙ্গবন্ধুর 7ই মার্চের ভাষণ। বঙ্গবন্ধু যখন ডাক দিয়েছিল, আমরা স্বাধীনতা সংগ্রামে ঝাঁপিয়ে পড়েছিলাম। 30 লক্ষ শহীদের রক্তের বিনিময়ে, 1 লক্ষ মা বোনের ইজ্জতের বিনিময়ে আমরা এদের স্বাধীন করেছি। এদের স্বাধীন করেছি গণতন্ত্র প্রতিষ্ঠার জন্য। সেই গণতন্ত্রকে আমরা বলুণ্ঠিত হতে দেব না, গণতন্ত্রকে সমুন্নত রাখব, এই আমাদের প্রতিজ্ঞা। এখানে ভিয়েনা কনভেনশনের 61 অনুচ্ছেদ অনুসারে বলা আছে যে কোনো বিদেশি ডিপ্লোমেট এদেশের অভ্যন্তরীণ বিষয়ে কোনো হস্তক্ষেপ করতে পারবে না। আমরাও সেই দাবি রাখব। এদেশ বাংলাদেশ স্বাধীন হয়েছে, এদেশে বঙ্গবন্ধু একটা কনস্টিটিউশন দিয়েছেন, সেই কনস্টিটিউশন অনুসারে এদেশ শাসিত হবে, এদেশের নির্বাচন অনুষ্ঠিত হবে। এই নির্বাচন, যে নির্বাচন কমিশন শাসনতন্ত্র অনুসারে গঠিত হয়েছে, সেই নির্বাচন কমিশনই এদেশ এই নির্বাচনকে পরিচালনা করবে, এটাই আমাদের দাবি। এখানে বিদেশি কোনো লোকের অভ্যন্তরীণ হস্তক্ষেপের কোনো সুযোগ নেই। আমরা বলতে চাই যে আমাদের এদেশে যে দ্বাদশ নির্বাচন হবে, সেটা হবে ফ্রি, ফেয়ার অ্যান্ড পার্টিসিপেটরি নির্বাচন। আজকে বিভিন্ন মহল থেকে কেয়ারটেকারের ধোঁয়া তুলছে। কেয়ারটেকার এদেশে যে নির্বাচন করেছিল, অনেক পরিস্থিতির পরিপ্রেক্ষিতে সেই পরিস্থিতি আর বাংলাদেশে নাই। সুতরাং কেয়ারটেকারের মাধ্যমে নির্বাচনের আর কোনো সুযোগ নাই। এদেশের শাসনতন্ত্র অনুসারে যে নির্বাচন কমিশন নিযুক্ত হয়েছে সেই নির্বাচন কমিশনই এদেশে নির্বাচন পরিচালিত করবে। এটাই আমাদের দাবি, এটাই আমাদের দাবি। তাই আমি আর আমার বক্তব্যকে দীর্ঘায়িত করতে চাই না। আমরা চাই যে আগামী যে দ্বাদশ নির্বাচন অনুষ্ঠিত হবে সেটা নির্বাচন কমিশনের মাধ্যমেই হবে, যেটা হবে ফ্রি, ফেয়ার অ্যান্ড পার্টিসিপেটরি ইলেকশন। আমার বক্তব্যকে আমি আর দীর্ঘায়িত করতে চাই না। আপনারা দূর দূরান্ত থেকে যারা এখানে উপস্থিত হয়েছেন আপনাদের সবাইকে আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাই, এবং সাথে সাথে বিদেশ থেকে যে সম্মানিত মেহমানগণ এসেছেন তাদেরও ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে আমার বক্তব্য শেষ করছি। আল্লাহ হাফেজ। বাংলাদেশ চিরজীবী হোক।
Thank you, sir, for your speech with a special emphasis on the conduct of the diplomats in Bangladesh. We all know, we all heard about the Vienna Convention 1961. And the Vienna Convention 1961, the basic principle of the Charter of the United Nations concerning the sovereign equality of states. So the মূল বিষয়টা কিন্তু ছিল সবগুলো দেশই কিন্তু সমানভাবে সার্বভৌম। এটির উপরে ভিত্তি করেই কিন্তু ভিয়েনা কনভেনশনটি তৈরি হয়েছে। তো কনসার্নিং দি সভরেন ইকুয়ালিটি অফ স্টেটস, দ্যাট ইজ দি হাইলাইট of the Vienna Convention. And also আমাদের মিডিয়া কর্মীরা এখানে আছেন, আমি তাদের গাঁতার্থে বলছি, for the media people, ahead of our 12th parliamentary election we see a lot of movement of some of the head of the missions of Bangladesh. According to the Vienna Convention Article 41, it is clearly written, without prejudice to their privileges and immunities, it is the duty of all persons enjoying such privileges and immunities to respect the laws and regulation of the receiving state. Whoever the sending state is, they must respect the laws and regulations of the receiving state, that is Bangladesh. That is the bottom line. And further, it is said they also have a duty not to interfere in the internal affairs of that state. আমাদের নির্বাচন এটি আমাদেরই ব্যাপার। আপনার নির্বাচন বাইরের কেউ এসে করে দিতে পারে না। করে দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করাটা অ্যাকর্ডিং টু ভিয়েনা কনভেনশন ইট ইজ এ ভায়োলেশন। And from on behalf of Election Monitoring Forum, we condemn any such act by any mission in Bangladesh. This is a clear message. We have a sovereign country. We have a sovereign election commission. We always welcome our development partners. You can always, help and extend your help for developing our electoral system, but cannot interfere, should not interfere. A mission head or a mission cannot ask our election commission, should not ask our election commission, which is a constitutional body, what are your preparations? No. We are monitoring elections in Bangladesh for quite a long time now, and we are quite experienced. we will invite our election observers from home and abroad. Others will also invite. So there will be lots of, as I said, ears and eyes to observe the elections. So we don't want intervention from any particular or any missions in Bangladesh. So ladies and gentlemen, at this point of time, let us hear from our guests from India, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. And first of all, I'll call upon Mrs. Ila Sharma, the former election commissioner, Nepal.
Honorable Chief Election Commissioners of Maldives, Sri Lanka, Honorable Election Commissioner of Nepal, Honorable former Chief Election Commissioner of India, Honorable Justice of Bangladesh, Professor Abed, and Dr. Sajad, High Commissioners of Maldives and Sri Lanka, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We have our election commissioner, serving election commissioner from Nepal here, but I was asked to come first because my name begins in the bottom. I understand that Bangladesh is at a crucial juncture where your democracy can become more strengthened or it can be a downhill. However, we have seen that Bangladesh has achieved extraordinary achievements in the past few decades in terms of human development indexes, in terms of your progress in development. Your democracy should also see the same achievements. That's what we wish for, your friendly neighboring countries. I'll tell you a little about Nepal. Nepal, there are few things, few aspects of elections which must be carefully monitored, which must be carefully nurtured in order for an election and democracy to become an ideal one. One aspect is media monitoring. I think somebody mentioned it in the beginning. The media must be, see, there is a right to free speech everywhere. It's a fundamental right. But if media is indulging in hate speech, it's indulging in fake news, then it must be controlled. Nepal started its media monitoring during 99's general elections, and since then we have been monitoring media. And in this onslaught of technology, of social media, we are struggling, but this is an issue that we contend with, media monitoring. And I think for election commission is not here. I would like to give a piece of advice because I looked after media and media monitoring while I was serving at the election commission. We must give media information. If we do not give them information, it gives rise to speculation. So this is something that I tell you from my experience, because, and as for, I have read in the newspapers that there is a debate going on here about caretaker government. Since I'm a former election commissioner, I'm retired, I can freely speak on this. I'll tell you Nepal's experience. We have had caretaker government once. It was an extraordinary circumstance. We had a constitution void. The parliament had been dissolved. There was no government. And then we had to conduct the elections. I'm talking about 2014 in Nepal. We had to conduct the second constituent assembly elections because we were in the process of writing a new constitution. So that is when we had a caretaker government, which was chaired by the Chief Justice of the day. And then the cabinet, there was no cabinet, there was a council of ministers, which was made up of former technocrats. But that was only once. Otherwise, what happens is the government of the day, once the election is announced, that government becomes the caretaker government. That government becomes the government which is tasked with conducting the elections, and then there is a code of conduct that steps in, and the election commission virtually becomes the government. So that is what has been happening in Nepal. It happened only once and during a very extraordinary circumstance. I think I dropped the page where I took notes in. Now another aspect of election, I'll be very short, that I would like to emphasize is inclusion. See, an election which is not inclusive, which is not inclusive of, which is not proportional to its population, it's not a representative government must represent its population across the board, everybody, whether it's gender, its communities, its religions, everybody should be represented in accordance with their population. See, that's called the proportional representation. I heard in Dr. Sajjad's paper that you have 350 parliamentarians, out of which 50 come from the proportional representation. It's an attempt to make the parliament inclusive. I'll tell you the experience of Nepal. We also have similar mixed representational system. We have both FPTP and PR. Now what we have done is, in the PR we have our constitution itself ensures that there will be 33% women in the federal parliament, and that is what the proportional representation does. If there is a gap in the FPTP, there are not sufficient women or sufficient representatives from the marginalized communities, those that are not that are sidelined, then we make sure that the proportional list, proportional representation makes up for the lack of inclusion, lack of representation. So now we have had 33% women in the parliament, in the federal parliaments, in both the houses, and in the state legislative assemblies, state assemblies, and we have 41% in the local government. So I really hope and pray Bangladeshi parliament becomes more inclusive. We are waiting for the day when we will have 50% women in our parliament. The Honorable Commissioner Rana from Nepal, he will probably tell you that the proposed draft bill of elections proposes that there will be 50% women in the parliament, and we already have 41% in the local government. Now these things were ensured by the constitution itself. What happens, I am sure in Bangladesh also it is the same, all the electoral draft bills, the acts that are to do with elections, they are initiated at the election commission. So we proposed in the election commission, we know that in the constitution there is an assurance of 41% women, but considering the patriarchal mindset of political parties and of the society, there will be very few mayor and deputy mayor candidates. So election commission drafted a bill saying that the political parties must field 50% women as their mayor or deputy mayor candidates, and fortunately with some advocacy from civil society, from some support, that bill was passed by the parliament. So now we have in our mayor and deputy mayor positions in the local government 50% women, and 41% in the local government overall, 33% in the parliaments. So this is something that happened over time, and I believe that in Nepal we are sitting on a silent revolution. You can imagine all these women, 41% in the local government, women as mayors and 50% women as mayors and deputy mayors. People are getting used to seeing women in authority. The acceptance is happening. And I would like to correct Dr. Sajjad's paper a little. We are not a monarchical democracy anymore. We became a secular republic in 2015 as per our new constitution. So you can imagine all these women sitting in the place of authority. They head the judicial committee at the local level. So people are getting used to seeing women in power. And there are more and more women and people from marginalized communities who want to run for election. We have completed 2 elections and one whole election cycle, electoral cycle, and I am not too aware of other indicators of my country, but I'm very proud of what we have achieved in terms of our electoral democracy and in terms of our inclusive representation. And I hope this election in Bangladesh will prove to be a milestone. It will be a good election by any indicators, a fair, credible, independent election, and then we look forward to an elected government and a peaceful election we hope for you. This is all. My best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ila Sharma, for your insightful speech, and especially with the information from Nepalese system of electoral, Nepal's electoral system. And you particularly emphasized on caretaker government that was in place only for once in Nepal, and that is because of a constitutional void that was created. So caretaker government is not for any normal situation. Only when there is a constitutional void, we can think about caretaker government, which does not exist in Bangladesh at the moment. And about the, amongst the other things, you particularly mentioned about the freedom of information to press. The press must know ins and outs of what is happening about elections. That reduces speculations about fair elections a lot. Thank you very much for your kind words. I would now like to invite Mr. J.B. Rana, the Election Commissioner in Nepal.
Can I push this? Maybe. Can I push this to a little bit there? I am uncomfortable for this. How to use?
Oh, okay.
Can I use this little bit to?
কয়েকটা mic একটু সরিয়ে দাও. If you push this, this might fall. You can keep over here. Can you?
Yeah. Okay.
The script.
Yeah, script is here.
Yeah.
Very difficult problem.
Yeah, okay.
Brother, little bit move this. No. See? Let's see. First of all, I would like to thank R.M.A.L for the invitation and this opportunity. Honorable, respected Honorable Chief Justice, Honorable Chief Election Commissioners, Honorable former Chief Election Commissioner, Honorable former Election Commissioner, Professor Dr. M.D. Sajid Hussain, Professor Mohammad Abid Ali, Chairman R.M.A.L, Professor Dr. Abdul Jabbar Khan, Vice Chairman R.M.A.L, distinguished guest, media personnel, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. to all of you. As a election commissioner, this is my first visit to abroad and the first visit to Bangladesh also. Now, I'm going to deliver briefly brief information about the election system in Nepal and best practices. Last year, we completed three election. Last year we did 3 elections, local, central and provisional. So we have some best practices and some challenges and future strategic. You all know that electoral system in Nepal, there is a already mentioned, there is a first past the post FPTP where voter cast their votes for individual candidates in their respective constituencies, and the candidate with the most votes in each constituencies win a seat in the House of Representatives, and there are 165 for FPTP for parliamentary election and 330 for the provisional assembly. And second one is PR. Voter also cast a second vote for political parties. The PR system is designed to ensure proportional representation in the overall composition of the parliament. Seats are allocated to parties based on the percentage of the total votes they receive. There are 110 seats in the national parliament and 220 seats in provisional assemblies under the PR electoral system. During election, what we did, a new thing in election, in election management, that called best practice in election management. I want to share with you what we did. First time, voter list and voter identity card. First time, youth voters have the right to vote even if they turn 18 in the day before election day. And similarly, the provision allowing the use of official identity cards used by the Nepal government made easier for voters to participate in the voting process. What we did, we had accepted the driving license and NID card. That time we accepted that for easy to voting to the people. And voters can easily identify their polling centers and their names on the ECNs. We had a website called Nagarik app, or mobile-based citizen app. And another is poll worker and security officials were permitted to cast their vote on the PR system from their deployment location. That is also we did. And third one is polling process. Candidates and election representatives are made mandatory to sign the election code of conduct and self-declaration so that accountability can enhanced. Additionally, voters with disabilities and those representing gender and sexual minorities are given priority to vote. They were not required to line up during the voting. And just I want to share these best practices. And under the human resource management, election code of conduct, trade union officials are not involved in the election management. Similarly, officials working in a specific local government officials cannot be assigned to the polling center of the same level. Insurance of all personnel working in election management was done. And election materials management, ensuring timely delivery of election materials to polling officers, implementing cost-effective procurement, strategic, and manning materials for polling centers in a rational manner are all important aspects of successful election, which were efficiently done during the election. Election security management, how we manage the security during election. A high-level election security committee was formed, led by the election commissioner, and composed of head of various government security agencies. And we established a joint election operation center, which is the perimeter with the election commission building. And it was led by a secretary of the election commission. And same pattern, the provision of district election security committee is also in place. The district election security committee conduct an analysis of security sensitivity and implement the requirement of strategic accordingly. And voter education, what we did, voter education were deployed at the local level, and the district election office organized at least one mock poll event at each local level. Voter education was conducted through the various mediums, including television, radio, newspaper, online media, social media, and digital display. Posters, pamphlets, and flip charts were also created and distributed to both district and local level. Additionally, social media platforms were utilized for voter education purpose. And election related training on relevant topic is provided to all levels. Use of information technology was done for election management training team. And election monitoring and observation. Observers were given directives regarding their code of conduct, work duties, rights, and responsibilities before they move to the polling center. And another is use of social media and monitoring of misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech in election. That is very careful topic during the election. The ECN established the social media monitoring mechanism in partnership with the social media companies to ensure voters receive all information related to election education through social media. We had an agreement with that company, media company, and same time we coordinate with the social media. And when we completed our election year, we have some ECN has been facing some challenges, like cyber security is the major challenges, and social media management. I already mentioned there is a misinformation, disinformation, hate speech that will very candidate had when they get this message and information, they got damaged that his profile during this election day. So that is a big challenge. And involvement of youth. We had seen youth are not motivated for the voting because of, we are thinking they are maybe frustrated from the political party, political leader, situation. They are not motivated. They are not willing to vote. That is also a very big challenge. And political financing and campaign financing, that is also a big challenge for the we know this very difficult, how they collect, how they distribute, how they purchase, very difficult. And obviously, lastly, technology. Technology is a very important role, and a new technology, we are far behind this new technology. That is also challenges of ECN. And what we have future strategic, already Madam mentioned that reforming and integrated electoral law, we are submitted this draft to government, and we are waiting for this. And empowering elected members who represent different genders and social group, fostering inclusion in all aspects of the electoral management cycle, increasing the use of technology to provide wider accessibility, expanding voter education program across diverse communities, including in local language and through the school curriculum, increasing collaboration with INGO and NGOs, think tanks, local governments, including NGOs representing indigenous and ethnic communities, and learn from experience of other countries. These are the future strategic. And lastly, I have to conclude, the main aim of Election Commission of Nepal is to conduct free, fair, and impartial election in the country. So that we need fairness, transparency, and accountability, the electoral process. A fair election is certainly possible if there is no influence on the exercise of the power of the Election Commission. Always we are hoping for a peaceful and participatory election in South Asian country. If there is an issue, that will be solve the problem through conversation within all election stakeholders. Lastly, I wish all of you for the successful upcoming election in Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency, Mr. Shamsher J.B. Rana, the Chief Election Commissioner, Nepal. Recently, a political reporter of EU Report, Mr. Nick Powell, visited Bangladesh. এবং নিক পাওয়েল এসে যে কটি বিষয়ের উপরে গুরুত্ব আরোপ করেছিলেন তার মধ্যে একটি আপনারা জানেন যে আমাদের সংবাদকর্মী যারা আছেন যে বিভিন্ন কোয়ার্টার থেকে বলা হচ্ছে যে বাংলাদেশে জাতিসংঘের অধীনে নির্বাচন করা যায় কিনা। তো এই বিষয়ে তারা যে কমেন্ট করেছিলেন whether or not United Nations can administer election in any country, কোনো দেশে জাতিসংঘ নির্বাচন সংগঠন করতে পারে কিনা সেই বিষয়ে তারা যেটি বলেছেন, the United Nations rarely conducts a nation's election and it is highly unlikely they would do so here. The government of Bangladesh would have to formally request it. বাংলাদেশের সরকারকে আগে জাতিসংঘকে একটা রিকোয়েস্ট পাঠাতে হবে if we need or if we want United Nations to conduct election in Bangladesh. শুধু এমনি মুখে মুখে বললে হবে না যে কোনো কোয়ার্টার থেকে। And after that, a Security Council or General Assembly resolution would have to be passed. আমাদের যে অনুরোধ পত্র যাবে সেটি নিরাপত্তা পরিষদ অথবা সাধারণ পরিষদে অনুমোদন প্রাপ্ত হতে হবে, তা না হলে জাতিসংঘ বাংলাদেশে এসে নির্বাচন করতে পারবে না। And what he mentioned in his report is time is too short to realistically accomplish this before the mandated election date. So that is not possible. Realistically there is no time for that. And on top of anything, unara jeta bolechen, due to the primacy of the principle of national ownership, this type of assistance is rarely mandated by the United Nations. So জাতিসংঘ বাংলাদেশে এসে নির্বাচন করে দেবে এই ধরনের প্রস্তাব যারা দিয়ে থাকেন তারা যে কতটাই বিভ্রান্ত করতে চেষ্টা করেন সেটি আপনারা নিশ্চয়ই বুঝতে পেরেছেন। জাতিসংঘের পক্ষে এটি বাংলাদেশে এসে করা সম্ভব নয় এবং আমরা ইলেকশন মনিটরিং ফোরাম থেকে মনে করি যেটির কোনো প্রয়োজনও নেই। বাংলাদেশ, যেটি নেপালের হাই কমিশনার বলেছেন, যে বাংলাদেশ ইজ ডেভেলপিং ইন অল দি ফ্রন্টিয়ার্স, সো বাংলাদেশ শুড অলসো develop in developing a sustainable electoral system altogether, and that has to be under the legal framework of constitution only. এই কথাটি কিন্তু আমাদের বিদেশি যারা আজকে এসেছেন তারা বারবার বলছেন। Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Mr. R.M.L. Ratnaik, the Chairman, Election Commission, Sri Lanka. Mr. R.M.L. Ratnaik is the sitting chairman of the Election Commission of Sri Lanka. Sir.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. I have pleasure and I am grateful for the invitation extended by the chairman of the Election Monitoring Forum, Professor Abid Ali, for this gathering where electoral systems of South Asia will be discussed and perspective on the 12th National Parliament election of Bangladesh. So I am unfortunately I didn't get the relevant topic earlier, so I am just speaking in general terms. We noticed that there are several election observation groups as well as election monitoring groups working hand in hand to ensure transparent, free, fair and credible elections. Election management bodies need to be supported by civil organizations such as this Election Monitoring Forum too. I notice a lot of similarities among people in Bangladesh. Their food pattern, appearance, dress style and warm hospitality are very much similar to us. Though the electoral system in Sri Lanka is quite similar to that of Bangladesh, we notice some difference as well. Here in Bangladesh, of the 350 members of the Jatiya Sangsad, 300 are directly elected seats using first past the post voting in single members constituency. Although the number is less, this is very similar to our situation. In additional 50 seats are reserved for women. It is a notable fact that the women in Bangladesh have a share in 1/7 of the seats in the parliament and a fairly sizable amount of women in elected bodies. Here the women empowerment in Asia at its peak, I should say, if I am not wrong. The current Sangsad is scheduled to expire on 29th January 2024, as the first session of this parliament sat on 30th January 2019. We hardly see something of this kind, the scheduled elections. Although we have free, fair and credible elections, quite unfortunately we don't have some scheduled elections. We don't know exactly when we are going to have elections. Each parliament sits for a 5-year term. This is same there as well. Very sadly, there is always election related crime and violence in common in both countries and in most countries of Asia. EMBs try their level best to create a level playing field in order to ensure such the support and assistance extended by election monitoring organizations of this nature are immensely beneficial to every stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ratnaik, for your valuable speech. Now I'd like to welcome Mr. Fuad Taufik, Chairman, Election Commission, Maldives. His Excellency, Mr. Fuad Taufik, Chairman, Election Commission, Maldives.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Professor Abid Ali, Professor Sajjad Hussain, Dr. Qureshi, distinguished professors, deans, administrators, Chief Justice, Honorable Elections Commissioners, Excellencies, diplomats, High Commissioner from Maldives, Deputy High Commissioner from Sri Lanka, and Consular General from Afghanistan, honorable ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, namaskar. Maldives, I want to just give a brief introduction about the Maldives, because Maldives is a very different country in nature, in size, in geography, by when we look at other South Asian countries. Maldives is in the Indian Ocean, southwest of subcontinent of India, spread over 90,000 square kilometers of sea, with 1,200 small and little bigger islands. Maldives is although it has 1,200 islands, only 188 islands are officially inhabited. 175 islands are used as tourist hotels or tourist resorts. Then there are some islands just reserved for the airports only, because even the international airport is just an island. Then some factories are there in some islands, and the rest of the islands are used for agriculture purposes mainly. Most of these officially uninhabited islands have people, something like 5, 10, 15, 20, it goes depending on the size of the island. You know, so some islands are as small as just, something like a quarter square kilometer, and others are there as big as 10 square kilometers. So having an election or a population census is a very difficult task for the government of Maldives. Getting all these people is not easy. Visiting all these people are also not that easy. It's very costly. But we have made a rule that the owners of all those islands should send their employees in the uninhabited islands to the nearest island where we hold, where we keep a ballot box. And also we keep a ballot box in any island which has a population above 30 people, voters above 30 people. So it's a small number, but just to give the chance to as many as possible, we keep ballot boxes, polling stations in most of the tourist resorts and some industrial islands and airports and so on. So this is about the geography, and also the islands are, some of the islands are in a ring shape which we call atolls, and within the atolls the sea is not that rough and it is comparatively shallow when we look at the sea between the atolls. They are not very calm, they are rough, and the distance also from atoll to atoll is traveling is more difficult and more distance than within the atolls. So for administrative purposes, most of the atolls are either combined together or done separately as an administrative unit. Now when we look at the elections of the Maldives, the first election, which we call election, but it's actually a referendum, was in 1953, when the government at that time wanted to change the system of the government from a kingdom to a republic. So a vote was taken, and then the referendum, most of, very high majority of people voted for a republic. But it lasted just less than a year, and again the government was toppled, and then there was another referendum whether people want a kingdom or a republic, and people then again within a year people's mind changed and voted for a kingdom. So again in 1954 kingdom came back, and it went up to 1968. We got the independence from the British in 1965, but in the all past we had our local king to rule the internal affairs. We didn't have the freedom for foreign affairs and defense. That will be looked after by the British. So in 1965 we got full independence, where we got the freedom to contact any outside world, and also to have our own defense to protect our country. Then 1968, again people voted for a republic, and since then we were having a republic form of government until now. But we had just a no party system up to 2008. 2008, before 2008, around 2005, parties were allowed to form, and in 2008 was the first multi-party election that we conducted. And I was one of the members of the Interim Elections Commission in 2008. That's the time that I joined the Elections Commission, and before that I was in the civil service in the Ministry of Planning and National Development as a statistician. Then from 2008 onwards, we are having the multi-party democracies, and every 5 years we have been changing the president since 2008. But before 2008, we had a president for 30 years, and before that it was 10-year term. So 40 years we had 2 presidents, and after that every 5 years we are having a new president. It was last month on the 9th, there was the first round of the presidential election. Nobody got 50%, and then the first 2 I have to go for the second round, and the one who got the maximum votes in the first round also got the more than 50% votes, and he is the president-elect now. Then regarding our political system, I just want to say that our government always try to have a very non-aligned, neutral foreign policy. But depending on the person, sometimes the friendship with some countries become more, and some countries become a little mild. But I don't think we can be called a pro-China or a pro-Indian country, because we have equal relations with all the countries of the region, including India, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and UK, US, anywhere. I mean, we have good relations. And at the moment, our relation with Israel is kind of, not very good. But we support the Palestinian, movement for independence. So, because of the media, and also because of the social media, sometimes, some of our presidents are either, aligned to one of the powers, but even the president-elect very clearly said that he is only pro-Maldives, and he will see the benefit of the Maldives only, and he will accept the friendship from any country that offers the friendship. I just want to a little highlight this, because every time when I meet somebody, I'm always asked about this question, whether we are aligned with the China or we are aligned with the India. Both the countries are very friendly countries to the Maldives. So the elections commission, and again, when we go back to the elections from 1953, after that there were parliaments in the or just one parliament, House of Common People, and the size of it changes from time to time. And from 2008 onwards, the voting, counting, everything is done in front of the observers, monitors, and representatives from the candidates. So the votes, the ballot box is opened in the polling station in front of the presentees. The inside is shown to the people. then it is closed, then one by one people are called for voting. They vote, and once the time voting is over, there will be a break of 30 minutes to prepare the documents, and then in front of everybody the ballot box is opened and counted in front of everybody. And if any observers ask about the mark on it, they will slow down, show it to the people. People are watching, you know, from a distance of 5 feet. So it's announced there and pasted the result on the wall of the polling station, and that result is sent to the media and also to the Elections Commission, and the Elections Commission do the compilation and do the verification whether there is a addition mistake or inconsistency, and if there is no problem, it will be published. If there is any problem, it will be questioned, verified, and corrected and announced. So this is the system that we are going, very transparent system, very open, and there is nothing that we hide to the people of the Maldives, to the voters of the Maldives, or even to the outsiders of the Maldives who are coming to. And we open our elections for everybody to come and observe. That's all. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for inviting me to attend this program, especially to EMF and its chairman, Professor Abid Ali. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fuad Tawfiq. Before we have plenty of time before the lunch, so before we hear from Dr. S.I. Quraishi, I'd like to invite two more people from Bangladesh. Engineer Monir, Director, Power Cell. Bangladesh, as you know, Bangladesh is trying to become resilient in power sector, and now we have different energy mix going on in Bangladesh. We are using coal, we are using nuclear power, we are using solar, and also other sources. We are using gas. So Power Cell is one of the major contributors, and I would now like to welcome Engineer Monir to come over the dais and speak a few words on this occasion.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something, Election Motion Forum, and I just thanks President, Chairman of this session. Distinguished guest from our neighboring country and the journalist here. I just want to, I have been listening all this thing, and especially from Dr. Sajjad, the keynote speakers. He just very brave and bold to express the actual situation now. Like people like, we are under tremendous pressure and different type of actually abnormal actually it is a I should say it is a completely out of the natural influence, external influence is imposing in our country situation right now in the eve of the upcoming election. And the government is progressing to highly, and he has mentioned this thing, power division also, including many other sectors is progressing, and rapid progressing of the under the government and successive 2 terms and 3 terms of this government. Things are approaching to, yeah. And under doing this thing, they are just geographical politics. There is a lot of issues is upcoming. and that they just blame us, and they just create a huge pressure on us to mold the whole things here. I would request, I'll just, after my, Mr. Qureshi, he's the very Indian election, because it's a very big country, so their election system, I'll just hear. What type of nature actually the issue came from the, from US envoy here in our Bangladesh? What is their approaches? And they are just moving like a just colonial state. They are approaching like this, and this type of influence actually they are just creating throughout our civil society and all society. And they are just influencing, okay, just without mentioning anything, actually what is their policy, they just impose sanctions, something like this. So there is very few people like Dr. Sajjad, he just boldly say many things, but very few of the government officials right now, they are very scared, because their family, their kids are studying abroad, they just don't bother all these things. This type of comfortable situation is rise and prevailing is now a situation. And you are the very expert in our regional democratic countries. So you handle the lot of elections in this situation. I would request you to please share us what type of attitude is this, and how we can in a collective way to protest all the situation. And I will also request our journalists to raise they just get some points out of them from all of you, they can highlight and actually share all the situation to our people. Nowadays, actually, we are really confused, because the media, social media, and the Western media all are manipulating, and they are just imposing a lot of fake news. Just they have the lot of rumors. They are just creating the wrong perception, and they just impose, and they are just placing the present government in a questionable, and all institutions, they just make it a questionable situation. And also, I would personally request you to, what would be the role of the opposition parties? They should have some power. It is not only the role of the sitting parties, also it is a collective of everybody should have some responsible role to conduct good elections. And but a particular group is there just to make this the questionable. So please, thank you for your question.
Thank you, Engineer Munir. Now we'd like to hear from Major General Tauhid Muhammad. I'd now request Major General Tauhid Muhammad to come over the dais and speak a few words.
Distinguished guests, excellencies, and foreign colleagues visiting us this morning. Very good afternoon. I first of all thank the organizer and the anchor of today's program, Professor Dr. Abed Ali, Chairman, and for inviting me to say very few words. And I'm really impressed. This is the right time to have a session where we can educate each other, understanding the situation of upcoming election for Bangladesh. I appreciate Professor Dr. Sajjad Hussain for his wonderful, very much inspirational and strong delivery as keynote speech on this particular issue, what we are dealing today. We have to really raise our voice, what is right and what is wrong. And he has exactly articulated that. And following him, all the presenters could really identify what is to be done and what is not to be done for maintaining our democratic culture in the Bangladesh. I would just like to, I'm not a professional, as I had been in the military for 36 years, and now more like a freelance. So there, as a general citizen of the country, I would like to highlight 2-3 issues as a common people of the society. There has to be continued efforts by the ruling party to secure and ensure the election environment in the country. The government has to ensure the environment, election environment in the country. And all other parties, all other political parties has to respect that. We are a democratic country by our constitution. There are different other options that could be a secular country, that can be some other kind of democratic, other than democratic culture. There are other type of political arrangement could be there, but we have accepted democratic culture and the constitution. So let us try to accept that and look forward for that. Understanding the people's perception, the second point, and focus engagement. We must understand that there are two worlds now, virtual world and the physical world. So we have to counter the misinformation. People are absolutely in some kind of misunderstanding or chaos that what is happening in the society. Please, those who have come from different countries of the world or our neighboring countries, that's not the reality. There has to be a connection between what is there in the virtual world, what we see and read, and what is there in the reality. There is something really good what we can take pride in. Overcrowded political propaganda making much people confused, whereas reality in political world is quite different. This is not what we actually see on ground. Few points for the political parties to consider. All political parties should proceed respecting constitution. Nothing can be good making a shortcut to that. So let us look for what we can do to have a free, fair, and inclusive election end of this year or next year. All parties should look for honest and competent candidates to nominate, which will be the key to win. So we have to focus on something, that we have to prepare for the upcoming election and look for the right candidates so that we can win. It's not that having some other effort to win. So not by looking for creating a chaos in the society and welcome a non-democratic body to establish democracy of their choice. This is a very important point to note. We cannot bring in something non-democratic to establish democracy in a country. Let us not look back to our history where we had some kind of miscarriages. We are not ready to accept that. The new generation will never accept that. So we want to look forward. The way my son feels, the culture, heritage, and the history of the country, we want to look forward with that. The next generation, the generation of my son and daughter, they exactly understand what will be the country. And this is how we are progressing. So there is a requirement of continuation of the growth of the development what we are having today. Lastly, I would like to say, let us look for what is good for the mass people, not for the good only for the political parties to come in power. We say people are the power, but once we are in the authority, we don't mean it. So let us look with the interest of we have to ensure the people's interest, and definitely we will look for the right party to lead the country. And thank you very much for the organizer and giving me this small scope to say something. Thank you, and thank you, Professor Sajjad, for a wonderful, inspirational keynote speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Major General Tawhid. Bangladesh has many challenges coming up. First of all, we had this challenge of meeting the MDG goals and targets. We have done it. We have done it very successfully. Now, ahead of us, we have another challenge. That is, by the year 2026, Bangladesh will be graduating out of the least developing countries. You all know. So that will be another challenge for us. And where until 2026, we'll have to maintain a proper score and appropriate score on 3 indices you already know. The GNI per capita, human asset index, and also the economic vulnerability index. So we'll have to maintain our score in these 3 areas. And after that, we'll have to achieve the SDG goals, you know, the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 goals and 169 targets. We'll have to achieve that. We also have a vision which is called Vision 2041. And by 2041, Bangladesh wants to be resilient in energy sector. We want to be completely resilient in energy sector. And also we want to be resilient in transportation sector. We want to translate distance into hours, minutes, and seconds. We don't want to translate distance in kilometers or miles anymore. That is our target by 2041. And that is how we are progressing with a proper strategic plan. Bangladesh has now a master plan for everything. For the first time in its history, Bangladesh has a master plan. And not only until 2041, we have a Delta plan. That is Delta Plan 2100. And by the year 2100, Bangladesh wants to have a cohesive economic and environmental footing. So standing in the year 2023 up to 2100, now we have a master plan set out for next 77 years. We all understand and know that we need a continuation of this. And we don't want our democratic process to be interrupted. Because what that can cause, I told you in the beginning. In the 16 years of undemocratic government, we could add only 23 US dollar to our per capita income. We don't want to go back to that country anymore. Now, Bangladesh's policy, the foreign policy, is friendship to all and malice to none. It's quite well established and understood. Now, in the region, we see a bit of tension. And that tension has come in the form of Indo-Pacific strategy. And we all understand and know, because our guests are also from this region, the future of the world's trade, economy, and everything will include and involve this particular zone, the Indo-Pacific zone, where Bangladesh is a stakeholder, India is a stakeholder, Maldives is a stakeholder, Nepal, Sri Lanka, everyone is a stakeholder. Now, due to the supremacy, to establish supremacy and control over the region, of which Bangladesh cannot probably directly benefit right now, we don't want to be part of it. So Bangladesh said, no, okay. Instead of Indo-Pacific strategy, Bangladesh has put forward their own, very own Indo-Pacific outlook. And the talks are going on that. So that is an area which probably can answer many questions, as you have outlined and raised today. Why things are happening like this? Why people are trying to violate Vienna Convention? So, ladies and gentlemen, before the lunch, let me welcome and our last speaker, sorry, not the last speaker, we'll also invite our chairman of the Election Monitoring Forum later on. But from among the guest of honors, our last speaker today is Dr. S.I. Quraishi, the former Chief Election Commission, India. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. S.Y. Quraishi on the dais.
Assalamu alaikum. Ladies and gentlemen, I would not name everybody because that takes time. but Justice, Professor Abid, our host, and my fellow panel, I'm extremely grateful, Professor Abid, for you inviting us to a great function, great event. It's a very important learning process for us. I bring some experience from India. I heard my panelists from Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Maldives, and with whom we have interacted over long periods of time, and also Bangladesh. I would like to mention that Global South has been in the news lately, and there also Indo-Pacific region has assumed a lot of importance, and that seems to be the underlying theme of this conference. I would like to mention that 60% of the world's democracy lives in South and Southeast Asia, in the Indo-Pacific region, 60%. And in just 9 countries of the SAARC region, 40% of the democracy of the world lives. Out of 200 countries, just 9 countries have 40% of democracy. That's how important this region is. But how much of international attention do we get? Very little. We need to strengthen democracy, particularly in geopolitical context. We talk of China, China's authoritarian regime, the dictatorship, but it is encircled by all democracies. All SAARC countries except maybe Afghanistan, they're all democracies, and successful democracies at that. Now, citizens' vigil and involvement in the election process is extremely important, which is what Professor Abid's organization seeks to achieve. I think nothing can be more important than that. We in India are very conscious, very particular about it, and we have made the Election Commission of India citizen-centric. In 2006, when I took over as election commissioner, I found the voter turnout to be very low. In the metros and big cities, 20%, 25%. I said, this is not acceptable. Many people in the election commission itself oppose the idea. They said, educating voters is not our job. Our job is just to conduct the elections. I said, no, nothing doing. Because low voter turnout raises the question about the legitimacy of the elected representatives. Suppose 20% people have voted, there are 10 candidates, the winner gets 12%, 88% people have not voted for him. Is he a real legitimate representative of the constituency? Maybe not. Technically, legally, yes, but in effect, not really, because 88% people have not voted. Therefore, voter turnout becomes important. That was the time when there used to be a demand that there should be compulsory voting. I used to say compulsion and democracy don't go together. Your right to vote includes your right not to vote. In fact, sir, you have written, I believe, 200 books on law. This is a question whether voting is a constitutional right has gone to the Supreme Court many times. This is not a constitutional right, it is a statutory right. But recently, in one judgment famously called Nota judgment, none of the above option when it was provided on the machine, the Supreme Court went to the extent of saying that your right not to vote is your fundamental right. Right not to vote is a fundamental right, right to vote is not. So therefore, the citizen's choice is extremely important. I am very happy to say, when I used to say that voter education is the answer, we set up a voter education division in the ministry, and the very first election with that was Bihar 2010. and we achieved highest voter turnout in history. We targeted women, more women turned out to vote than men. We targeted youth, their number, they used to be just 10, 12, 13, 14% youth who were participating, but they have now, it has not gone up to 80% because we had focus for voter education program addressed to them. I am very happy to inform you that 4 or 5 years ago, our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, in one of his Man Ki Baat program, monthly program, he praised the Election Commission's effort. He said that the Election Commission has now become citizen friendly and citizen centric. Now, which is perhaps also the theme of your conference. You want the citizens to get involved. I got the feeling ever since I arrived that citizens are a little apathetic. They are indifferent to the coming election. That's very, very bad. It's very counterproductive. I even hear of boycott calls. In India also sometimes some villages unhappy, they say we boycott. Whose loss is it? Only theirs. It doesn't matter. If I boycott and if I don't vote, so what am I losing? One possibility is that my vote can make a difference. In fact, in India, many elections have been won and lost by one vote. For all you know, it could be your vote. Therefore, citizens should not think in terms of boycotting election. Now, I mentioned the importance of SAARC regions, 40% of democracy. About 12 years ago, at the initiative of Bangladesh, in fact, we formed an organization called FEMBOSA, Forum of Election Management Bodies of South Asia. It has started very enthusiastically. It is doing very well. But lately, I haven't heard much. I don't know who is the chairman this year. But that organization needs to be strengthened. Nepal is the chairman. So now that organization needs to be strengthened. It needs to be encouraged. And we can do information sharing. We have to learn from each other. Now, Nepal has mixed system, FPTP and PR, proportional representation. That is a demand which is going on in India, but Nepal has done it. We used to talk of Germany, German model, but it is good, but it is a little complicated. They have simplified it and they're doing it. We can learn. Simultaneous election is another demand in our country, but simultaneous election is also happening in Nepal. So there is so much we can learn from Nepal, even if it is a small state. So because every country has its own experience, its own wisdom, and we can learn from each other. Now, in the entire debate, the credibility of the Election Commission is extremely critical and crucial. I hear in Pakistan and now in Bangladesh, caretaker government. We never have a demand for caretaker government in India. Although our election is as big as 90 countries rolled into one. Why? Because Election Commission itself is the caretaker government. Almost the entire power shifts to the Election Commission. The government cannot take any decision even in the cabinet. They cannot even discuss a proposal in the cabinet, because if it is leaked out that government is planning to do something very good for the citizens, so they get political advantage. Even to bring the agenda before the cabinet, they have to seek the approval of the Election Commission. So Election Commission is the caretaker government. Only yesterday in India, a very big order that every government servant will be promoting the achievements of the government over the last 9 years. It was shot down by Election Commission yesterday. It's all over the newspapers. So there is that kind of power, because the day elections are announced, Election Commission becomes the so-called, not exactly, not technically, not legally, but virtually, it becomes the government. And people have trust in it. So that is why we need to strengthen the Election Commission. The framers of India's constitution were very far-sighted. You may not know, many people in India don't know, that Election Commission of India was created a day before India was born as a republic. A day before, because that was important, that first the Election Commission, then Republic of India comes. Then they made it extremely independent, autonomous. I'm a former civil servant, but once I joined the Election Commission, I have to resign from the government, cut off all relationship with the government, because now I'm independent. And the same government which appoints me cannot touch me, cannot remove me, except like a judge of the Supreme Court through a process of impeachment. So with that independence, Election Commission of India actually has the credibility. I had forwarded 4 pictures to be shown on the screen, because they, as they say, a picture says 1,000 words. But unfortunately, the technical expertise here is a little wanting. But let me try whether this iPad thing can be visible or somebody can enlarge it. Do you see these 2 gentlemen sitting together and laughing? And here's a quiz. One of them is a losing chief minister, the other is a winning chief minister. Can you make out who? Because even the loser is happy, because if he was he felt cheated by the Election Commission, they would not have been sitting like this. Can you imagine Joe Biden and Donald Trump sitting together? Can you think of similar thing in your country? No. No, but in India it is possible, only because this is a statement of 1,000 words on the credibility of the Election Commission. The same 2 gentlemen embracing each other. Now, after the 2014 election, in election speeches they criticize each other. Here is Prime Minister, new Prime Minister, incoming Prime Minister Modi went with a bouquet to the outgoing Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, and this is how transition of power is smooth in the country. So it is seamless. There is no conflict. The losing Chief Minister, Prime Minister hands over the chair to the winning Chief Minister with folded hands. No acrimony, no. Now they are going inside to brief each other. So this is the kind of democracy we have because of the credible elections, which is what you should seek to achieve. I believe the Election Commission of Bangladesh has all the powers that we have. Why don't they just assert themselves? Why is their credibility in doubt? Why is it that USA has to say that somebody else from outside will conduct election? I entirely agree with whatever I heard earlier. This is an obnoxious proposal. How can a sovereign country accept somebody else coming and conducting your election? You have an election commission, constitutionally constituted, and hopefully with credibility. So now in India, something which you can learn very quickly even now, we have a model code of conduct. It is a code of conduct devised by political parties for their own good behavior. It is not a law. They themselves decided that they will not disturb each other's meeting. They will not abuse each other. And most importantly, there is a chapter called Chapter 7, which is conditions imposed on the government of the day. That you will not abuse the resources that you have. Government staff will not be used. Government transport will not be used. And that you will not make new announcements on the eve of election to seduce the voters. No. If you do, you will face severe action. You cannot transfer officials. They all come under the Election Commission. We have changed Chief Secretary, Home Secretary, DGP on the slightest suspicion that they were not neutral. Neutrality is non-negotiable. So now, if you, I would like to suggest to your Election Commission, just pick up a Model Code of Conduct of India and adopt it totally, because it has tested legal scrutiny and tested, time tested. Now finally I would like to talk about the media. Media on the one hand is our watchdog, which we welcome. We could have treated them with hostility and they could have treated us as hostile, but we decided that actually they are our eyes and ears. What we are trying to see, if there is any malpractice happening on the ground, they are showing us through their cameras. So we should, in my time, we should directions to our entire staff in the country that if you see on television some malpractice happening, take it as a complaint, formal order from the Election Commission and start an inquiry. Don't wait for us to give you an order. If you read anything in the newspaper, just take it as a formal complaint, because they are our eyes and ears. They should keep an eye on us also, but they are keeping an eye on everybody else, and that way they are helping us, they are with us in it. And finally, ADR. We have an organization, a very famous, and you should invite them sometime, Association for Democratic Reforms. It's an organization formed by 5 professors of different universities many years ago, and they are watchdogs of Indian election. Constantly, they're keeping an eye and point out how many people with criminal background are coming to Parliament, how many crororepatis have come to Parliament, what is happening when they become MPs and MLAs. So all these things, there are some lessons. So you don't have to go very far. Europe will not teach you. America will not teach you. You can learn from each other in the neighborhood, in the SAARC region. Sambosa can play that role. With these words, I suggest that you do a quick study of what is happening around, and there are lessons to learn from the neighborhood itself. You don't have to go very far. With these, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my experience. Thank you.